What if the greatest love story wasn't about two people at all? What if it was about our endless relationship with the sky above us? About humanity's fragile attempts to touch the stars and the sacrifices that dream demands? Taylor Jenkins Reid's Atmosphere. A love story is not simply a novel of space missions and astronauts. It is a sweeping exploration of ambition, love, loss, and the tension between our private lives and our collective pursuit of greatness. In this summary, we will walk through the story step by step, chapter by chapter, watching as ordinary people are tested by extraordinary circumstances. It's a journey where human connection collides with cosmic ambition, where duty wrestles with desire, and where even in the silence of space, the human heart speaks loudest. Chapter: December 29th, 1984. The book opens at the Johnson Space Center in Houston. Joan Goodwin, one of NASA's astronauts, arrives to serve as Capcom, the capsule communicator, the only person in mission control who speaks directly to the shuttle crew. The mission at hand is critical. The shuttle navigator must deploy the Arch 6 satellite. But things are not going according to plan. The latches holding the payload have jammed, and two astronauts, Vanessa Ford and John Griffin, prepare for a dangerous spacewalk. Reid plunges us into the tense rhythm of mission control. The novel captures the procedural precision, the chain of command, the unspoken understanding that mistakes cost lives. Joan is calm, her voice steady, but the air is charged. Vanessa and Griff move into the payload bay, release the clamps, and for a brief moment, it feels like success is within reach. Then catastrophe strikes. An explosion rips through the bay, sending shards of debris slicing through metal and fabric. Griff's suit is punctured. The orbiter itself suffers damage, and the pressure inside begins to drop at an alarming rate. Within moments, the shuttle becomes a death trap. Astronaut Lydia Danes races to identify the leak, while mission control scrambles to buy time by pumping oxygen and nitrogen into the cabin. Voices grow frantic, then fall silent. One by one, crew members lose consciousness. Joan's worst fear materializes in her headset, the eerie silence of a dying crew. At the end of this harrowing sequence, only Vanessa remains conscious, clutching Griff, trying desperately to keep him alive. In a single chapter, Reid delivers the fragility of human life in space and the crushing weight of responsibility on the ground. Chapter: 7 years earlier. We rewind 7 years into Joan's past. At this point, she isn't yet a seasoned astronaut. She is a professor at Rice University, teaching introductory astronomy courses, lectures far beneath the depth of her PhD in solar studies. She feels underutilized, stuck, yet still in love with the stars. One day, her younger sister Barbara mentions a NASA recruitment commercial specifically calling for female scientists. Joan remembers how women had historically been shut out of spaceflight, how the early lady astronaut trainees never made it past the gates of approval. But something in this call for applicants feels different, urgent. Despite her doubts, Joan applies. She assembles her documents, mails in her resume, and quietly allows herself to hope. Then, one day, the newspaper headlines announce the unthinkable. NASA has chosen 35 new astronaut candidates, including 6 women. Joan's name is among them. For a woman who once thought her dreams ended in the classroom, this moment feels impossible. The chapter captures both her disbelief and her trembling joy, the sensation of a door long, closed, suddenly cracking open. Chapter: Summer 1980. Joan now begins to pivot her life toward the astronaut program. She leaves Rice and relocates closer to the Johnson Space Center, but this decision reverberates through her family. Her sister Barbara, a single mother, has long relied on Joan to help raise her daughter Frances. Joan is more than an aunt. She is a stabilizing presence, almost a second parent. Frances, precocious and tender, adores her. Joan's ambition forces her to stretch herself between two worlds, the demanding grind of NASA and the intimate pull of family responsibility. At the Space Center, she meets her fellow candidates. Among them are Donna Fitzgerald, sharp and magnetic. John Griffin, soon to be Griff, easygoing yet competent, and Lydia Danes, fierce and competitive. Already, camaraderie and rivalry stir side by side. Then there is Vanessa Ford, an aeronautical engineer. Joan notices her almost instantly. Vanessa carries herself with quiet authority, a magnetism that feels both professional and personal. Their connection is subtle but undeniable. Reid plants the first sparks of what will become one of the story's central tensions. Chapter: Fall 1980. Training begins in earnest. This is where the dream of spaceflight transforms into sweat, exhaustion, and relentless testing. Candidates are pushed to their limits. Psychological interviews, claustrophobic drills, physical endurance tests. The glamour of astronaut is stripped away to reveal the brutal preparation behind it. Reid captures the grind in meticulous detail. How Joan runs endless miles on treadmills with electrodes attached. How she is sealed into white fabric chambers to test her tolerance for isolation. How she fields impossibly tricky interview questions designed to unsettle even the calmest minds. What becomes clear is that NASA is not looking for daredevils. They don't want cowboys. They want planners, problem solvers, team players who can thrive in high-stakes monotony. To Joan, this feels validating. She has always been the quiet, overlooked one, not the flashiest but the steady hand. Here, at last, that quality becomes her strength. Yet amidst the structure, friendships form. Griff's humor and kindness provide relief. Donna becomes a confidant. And in the background, Vanessa emerges as both rival and enigma. The seeds of a deeper bond between her and Joan are being sown quietly with every interaction. Chapter: Spring 1981. By now, months of training have hardened the candidates. Joan juggles her NASA responsibilities with her role as Francis's anchor. The duality is exhausting, teaching her niece constellations at night while enduring grueling simulations by day. But this balance also defines her. Her drive isn't only for herself. It's to show Francis that the impossible can be done. Competition intensifies within the group. Small differences in performance begin to matter. Some thrive, others falter. And then there's Vanessa. Her ambition mirrors Joan's, but her approach feels sharper, bolder. Joan finds herself pulled toward her, sometimes in rivalry, sometimes in admiration, and sometimes in something harder to define. Their interactions are charged, oscillating between challenge and connection. This chapter underscores how training is not just about mastering procedures. It's about building resilience in the face of relentless pressure and about navigating the volatile human emotions that bubble beneath the surface. Chapter: June 1981. The simulations become more intense. Candidates are locked in cramped mock-ups for hours, drilled on every possible failure scenario. Joan discovers her strength lies in calm endurance. She does not panic in isolation. She does not crumble under monotony. Instead, she steadies herself and even manages to surprise her evaluators with her composure. Yet in private moments, she wrestles with imposter syndrome. The thought that maybe she doesn't truly belong at NASA haunts her, but she refuses to quit. At the same time, her interactions with Vanessa take on more depth. A glance, a shared laugh, a conversation that lingers longer than it should. These moments layer together like brushstrokes in a painting. Their relationship is still unnamed, undefined, but it carries the weight of possibility. Chapter: July 1981. By midsummer, bonds within the group feel like family ties, warm but also fragile. Griff emerges as Joan's closest friend, his levity a constant comfort. Donna proves whip-smart and loyal. Yet beneath the laughter and late-night talks is a constant awareness. Only some of them will make it into space. Every friendship is shadowed by the reality of competition. This chapter contains a pivotal dinner scene between Joan and Vanessa. Over shared food and wine, they strip back layers of pretense. Vanessa admits that her hunger to go to space isn't just about exploration. It's about legacy, about being remembered as one of the few who dared. Joan responds with her own truth. Her drive comes from Francis, from the desire to inspire her niece to dream bigger. In this conversation, admiration deepens into intimacy. Their bond feels inevitable, as though the universe itself is pulling them closer together. Chapter: December 29th, 1984, Return. The narrative cuts back to the present-day disaster aboard the Navigator. The crew is dying. Mission Control is frantic. Joan, as Capcom, is the voice of stability in chaos, even as her chest tightens with dread. The tether between her and Vanessa, now the only one left conscious, feels almost symbolic. Her words become not only commands but lifelines. The pressure is unbearable. The contrast between the rigorous preparation of years past and the sudden, raw terror of this crisis could not be sharper. This moment crystallizes everything: the stakes, the sacrifices, the fragility of life in pursuit of the stars. Chapter: August 1981. The story returns once more to Joan's early training. By late summer, the grind has become routine, but the stakes feel sharper. Technical challenges grow more complex, simulations more punishing. The astronauts grow close, but every success by one candidate highlights the looming reality that others will be left behind. It is camaraderie laced with competition. Meanwhile, Joan's family pressures mount. Barbara leans on her more than ever, leaving Joan frustrated, torn between duty to her sister and her own ambitions. Frances remains her joy, bright, curious, hungry to learn, but Joan feels guilt at the time she misses with her. This tension reminds her that chasing the stars comes with earthly costs. At the same time, the bond with Vanessa continues to evolve. Shared glances, subtle gestures, and late-night conversations make it clear that what's building between them is not just professional respect. For Joan, who has always lived a quiet, restrained life, this unspoken connection feels both thrilling and terrifying. It is here that she begins to understand. The sacrifices of an astronaut are not only physical and professional. They're deeply personal, reaching into the most private corners of the heart. Chapter: Fall 1981. By autumn, the training program has reached a breaking point. The astronauts are no longer wide-eyed recruits. They are exhausted, sharpened by endless drills, and acutely aware that not all of them will make it. Lydia Dane stands out as fiercely competitive, always pushing to be first, her drive creating friction in the group. For Joan, Lydia becomes a reminder that ambition can corrode camaraderie. Griff and Donna, once effortless allies, begin showing sharper edges, each fighting for their place. In this charged atmosphere, Joan and Vanessa's connection continues to deepen. Their conversations become more personal, threaded with both rivalry and something softer, more intimate. In quiet moments, Joan finds herself looking for Vanessa, drawn to her presence even when she tries to deny it. Fall 1981 becomes a season of reckoning, where Joan realizes the costs of ambition are not only physical but emotional. Every victory comes with a shadow. Chapter: Winter 1982. The new year brings an even harsher round of evaluations. The program is deliberately grueling, meant to wear down all but the most resilient. Joan begins to feel the weight of time, the grind settling into her bones. She questions herself constantly. Am I strong enough? Am I worthy? Yet she keeps going, step after punishing step. At home, Frances is growing fast. Joan feels the sting of missed moments, school projects, bedtime stories, the small rituals of family life. Barbara continues to lean heavily on her, resenting Joan's absence while still demanding her help. Joan's dual lives, one orbiting NASA, the other tethered to her family, pull her in opposite directions. It becomes clear, every mile she travels toward the stars is a mile further from the people she loves. Chapter: Summer 1982. After 2 years of training, Joan begins to find her footing. Her persistence pays off in simulations, and instructors take notice. She handles pressure with calm, solves technical problems with clarity, and shows that she is not only surviving the program, but beginning to thrive. For the first time, Joan feels she might actually belong at NASA. Her relationship with Vanessa continues as a quiet undercurrent, always present, never fully spoken. In moments of laughter or shared exhaustion, Joan feels the weight of what she cannot admit, that she wants more than just friendship. But for now, silence is safer. Chapter: Summer 1983. The program enters its third year, and tensions rise to a breaking point. Assignments are approaching, and every candidate knows their future will soon be decided. Griff becomes more intense, Donna more guarded, Lydia more ruthless. The fragile balance between camaraderie and competition begins to shatter. Yet even as rivalries sharpen, there are moments of levity, barbecues, late-night study sessions, laughter in the face of exhaustion, that remind Joan why she stays. NASA, however, offers no guarantees. Joan understands that years of training might end with rejection. Still, she refuses to give up. Her dream, once impossible, now feels within reach. Chapter: Fall 1983. By fall, Joan faces new doubts. Despite her progress, she sometimes feels overlooked, her quieter nature leaving her in the shadow of louder, more assertive peers. Vanessa, in contrast, continues to push forward with relentless drive. Their dynamic sharpens, equal parts rivalry and unspoken intimacy. Joan admires her, envies her, and perhaps loves her, though she cannot yet name it. This chapter lays bare the truth. Ambition is never a straight line. Even success comes with doubt, and Joan must learn to carry both. Chapter: Spring and Summer 1984. Finally, Joan's persistence begins to pay off in tangible ways. She achieves breakthroughs in training, earning recognition from her superiors. She moves from being a candidate to truly being seen as an astronaut. The gold pin, the symbol of flight, is almost within her grasp. At home, Frances watches with pride, reminding Joan why she pushes herself so hard. To inspire, to prove, to open doors once locked. Vanessa remains at her side, their bond now undeniable, even if unspoken. In this stretch of the story, the two women grow closer than ever, sharing confidences and quiet understanding. Yet, the pressures of NASA never allow them to fully explore what lies between them. Chapter: Fall 1984. Autumn brings the climax of training. The astronauts are tested harder than ever, and Joan's resilience shines. She emerges from these trials not just as a survivor, but as someone who belongs in the program. Recognition finally comes. She is chosen. The dream she once thought impossible is about to become reality. But the cost is undeniable. Family relationships are strained to breaking. Friendships have been tested, and her bond with Vanessa remains unresolved. Joan stands on the edge of history, her heart divided between the stars and the people she loves. Chapter: The day before, Thanksgiving 1984. On the eve of the mission, emotions run high. The astronauts are gathered, preparing for what lies ahead. For Joan, anticipation mixes with dread. Vanessa is there too, close but distant, their bond heavy with things unsaid. Every interaction feels weighted with meaning, as if both women know that tomorrow could change everything, or end it all. The chapter is quiet, almost subdued. It is the calm before the storm, the moment before lives are rewritten. Chapter: December 29th, 1984 Finale. We return to the opening disaster aboard the Navigator. The explosion has left astronauts dead or unconscious, and only Vanessa remains awake. In mission control, chaos reigns, but Joan, as Capcom, must be calm. Her words are the only tether between Earth and the fragile life clinging to survival in space. This final sequence is harrowing. Joan gives instructions, trying to keep Vanessa focused, but her heart is breaking. The contrast between years of preparation and the sudden, brutal reality of spaceflight could not be sharper. For Joan, this is the moment when everything, her ambition, her sacrifices, her love, comes crashing into focus. Space is not just glory. It is danger. It is loss. It is sacrifice. And yet, even in devastation, there is resilience. Vanessa fights on. Joan steadies her voice. Together, they embody the essence of human exploration, fragile, flawed, but unyielding in the face of the impossible. Taylor Jenkins Reid closes Atmosphere, a love story with a meditation on what it means to reach beyond our limits. The novel reminds us that greatness is never achieved in isolation. It is forged in sacrifice, in strained relationships, and in the fragile bonds of love that sustain us. For Joan, the journey from uncertain recruit to steadfast Capcom is more than a career arc. It is the story of finding purpose, of choosing to keep moving forward even when fear and grief press in. For Vanessa, survival in the silence of space becomes the embodiment of resilience. Together, their story reminds us why humanity continues to look upward, because even in the face of tragedy, we are compelled to wonder, to strive, and to believe that our reach can exceed our grasp.